All right, up next, we have Nuke. He's going to be giving us an introduction to Polkadot, Substrate, and Parachains. Come on up, Nuke.
Hey guys, how are you all doing today? Feeling good? I'm feeling good. I know coming to a close on this weekend is kind of bittersweet. It's been fun to have so many people from all over the world come and visit our little home base. I'm from Colorado. Who else is from the Denver-ish area? Yeah, Front Range largely? Anywhere? Wyoming, New Mexico? Yeah, cool. I love this place, and I'll tell you a little bit about that after I tell you about Polkadot. We do some cool things around in the Denver area all the time. But I'll tell you a little bit more about why I'm supposed to be talking today. Right? Why do we do Polkadot? What is Polkadot? I'll get to it, but first we should start with why, right? What's the philosophy here? So one of the favorite taglines of the company I work for, Parity Technologies, less trust, more truth. This is something one of the founders, Gav Wood, this is what he said, right? I like it a lot. Doesn't mean that we have to totally distrust everyone, right? But if we could trust a little bit less, and maybe just have a little bit more things that we can rely on that are truthful, we can do a lot more with the world, right? And Polkadot, why else do we exist? This less trust, more truth environment, but also I would say Polkadot, from its foundation, is betting against this idea of chain maximalism. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of find it toxic. It's like, my chain has to rule them all, you know, kind of thing. Nah, I think there'll be a lot of chains. At least that's what Polkadot's premise is, right? Our real bet here is that the best blockchain of today, whatever it is, if you're a maximalist for it or not, it will not be the best chain tomorrow, right? Things change, things evolve over time, right? And we need to be in a world where we're ready to go to the thing that is better tomorrow, right? So that's why Polkadot exists. Less trust, more truth. We think that there's going to be a whole bunch of chains and that we should probably evolve over time. So here's what Polkadot fundamentally revolves around. What are the key properties here? We connect networks together. I'll get into this. We handle heavy traffic at scale, right? One of the biggest things that we'll be doing with Polkadot is scaling a lot of networks working, interoperating together. And providing in that network of networks, security, a whole bunch of industry-leading, robust security. And then beyond that, we want to be able to allow custom-made blockchains, right, for whatever their purpose might be, to be able to interoperate together, and that's over this network, as well as to upgrade over time. So these self-upgrades that allow you to be future-proof and be the blockchain of tomorrow as opposed to have to die and let some other chain take over. And all bringing this together, some sense of less trust, more truth. We want governance. We want people to be able to have some say in how these things should evolve over time, right? But first I want to talk a little bit more about what enables these custom-made blockchains to be, because that's kind of hard to do, man. Making blockchains is hard, right? So we provide kind of a stepwise path to get there, right? So instead of just throwing you the deep end, although you can go the deep end path to make a blockchain totally from scratch, say, okay, well, you know how to do these contracts, right? Whether it be in Solidity, if you're targeting EVM, or potentially we provide some toolkits that target WebAssembly, right? In particular, this is a generic language that I think a lot of people are excited about. Some technologists, I'll talk to you about WASM after this. And in this, if you can target whatever the virtual machine is in this network that you're trying to go for, whether that's EVM or your own custom thing, it's a great place to start. You get a platform, you throw some money at it, and you can start today, whatever it is. But let's say that that scales, right? And now you're looking for some more extended functionality. In fact, some of the principles, like for instance, the fee markets and the auction mechanisms that we have on EVM, just that gas stuff isn't gonna work for you. You need something different. Now you gotta build your own thing, right? In your own operating system in which you'd like to perform in. So we give you a toolkit in Polkadot world at least. Substrate is primarily what things are built in. It's all in Rust, and I don't know about you guys, I love Rust. Rust is a fun language to work in. And it helps you protect yourself from a lot of the foot guns that other languages would let you foot gun yourself into when you're building these blockchains that have to be the most robust pieces of software out there in a lot of ways, right? They guarantee a lot of very important things, financially speaking and otherwise. All right? So if you go from this contract land, now you've evolved into this your chain of your own, but you're still pretty small. You're still figuring things out. This is on demand. We offer things in Polkadot that can let you pay as you go, right? Only have your network online as you need when you need it. But let's say, okay, we're even beyond that point. Now we need guaranteed throughput all the time. We're able to offer you a guaranteed position. This doesn't involve fees at all. For every block that Polkadot runs, your parachain is your parallel chain, your parallel blockchain to Polkadot can run and operate on it. So we provide a whole swath of technical ability as well as financial flexibility in terms of how you can operate these networks to bring into what we call block space. This kind of fancy term. Has anybody heard this kind of hype word before? The idea here being that instead of reasoning about blockchains as independent things, we can reason about this notion of block space. You just want something in the world to be able to get on this distributed permanent ledger and make sure that it's very secure, right? And as opposed to reasoning about blockchain specifically or contract specifically, it's some blend of these things, right? And I'll link you to some slides in the end. There's a great blog post that describes this much better and a keynote speech by our founder, Gavin Wood, who talks about this and some of the models that we'll be providing. And so at a very high level, this effectively looks like we've got these contracts, we've got these parachains, we have independent networks that bridge to this thing, a whole bunch of on-chain governance to make sure that everybody is able to interoperate with each other in a nice way, and be able to access this block space in a very convenient manner. So I don't want to get too deep into that because I haven't got enough time. But I do want to talk a little bit more about some of these other key aspects of Polkadot, right? This security thing. So, okay, I can build these, contracts or whatever. I can build these parachains or whatever. Great. But why would I use Polkadot, when I could just build them myself? Well, in particular, the security is really difficult to get. So in a contract-based model, right? You're trusting whatever the platform that you're being on, whether that's Cardano, Tezos, Ethereum, whatever, some layer 2 thing. There's a lot of implicit things about the security that's there that you'll be buying into. With Polkadot specifically, it makes it really easy for a blockchain network, because this is different. You're deploying your own platform to come into very robust security without a bootstrapping problem, right? I don't have to develop from scratch a proof of work network, right? Or some very intense proof of stake network that needs a lot of capital already ready to go to make sure that it's robust and secure. As opposed to that, we have a robust and secure proof of stake model that Polkadot provides that you can plug right into. So parachains, effectively what they'll be doing is doing a little initiation ceremony and letting Polkadot know about the runtime. So this is how we go from block to block on our parachain. And Polkadot's primary job is to validate that those state transitions from block to block are actually executed correctly. That's its primary purpose. It allows you to plug right into this security then, in that you're executing and having this very deep reservoir of proof of stake security working on your behalf and ensuring that you're doing your job correctly, right? So what you can really do then is, as opposed to all these financial concerns that I'll get a little bit more into this block space model, and all of these security concerns about how do I operate a network in a robust way, you get to focus on what really makes your chain special, the code, right? So we're able to amass now a whole bunch of unique networks that really focus on potentially one unique specific thing, these app chains, right? I think Red was talking about this a little bit before, that we're able to focus very specifically on the one thing that makes us special, as opposed to trying to do everything under the sun as an independent network. And within that, now we can plug into this robust security model, and further, we can communicate across it. So all these different app chains now have a robust, secure, central place which we can all agree on and come to consensus about, that is the root of security. So this is effectively the Polkadot network, provides this root of security that we can all then trust what each independent network is operating on. And better yet, we can't revoke that, we can't roll back. One of the key properties that I don't have a good slide on is deterministic finality is one of the things that we have in Polkadot. In Polkadot, what that means is opposed to probabilistic finality, what we see on proof of work chains, where at some point we might have a 51% attack that can roll back in history, and the things that we thought were true are no longer true, right? In deterministic finality, we don't get this kind of behavior. At some particular point, everything in the past is known to be true and cannot be rolled back, right? So now we've got this root of security that is deterministically final across many different networks. And we can all agree that whatever happened on that network isn't gonna roll back. It's the same. So again, I don't want to, in the sake of time, get too deep into this network diagram, which actually this is kind of cool, is that this fun graphic is actually an infographic. It goes into deeply how these things work. After this, if you want to know more, come bother me. Okay? So now we've got this deep security layer that many people can plug into, but we want to be able to communicate across this, right? We want these chains to be interoperable such that my little specific niche thing that I can do on this network, that really good, that's what the app chain's for, can also plug in and compose, like we'll see this money Legos, I think is another hype word that we've seen around, right? We can compose many different things in this network together, right? So we've introduced two components to make this work, right? XCM, which is the cross-consensus messaging format, right? So this is not a protocol in and of itself. It's just a way to describe your intention, to describe what you'd like to do on a various network. So this could be within Polkadot or without, right? If you guys are familiar in the Cosmos world, IBC, similar in flavor, although this is not the protocol level, right? We're not reasoning about things like tendermint and the consensus that's going on. It's simply about like, hey, I want to withdraw an asset, or I want to mint a thing, or I want to whatever it might be, and describing that to appear, a different consensus engine, right? This could be a blockchain, it could be a smart contract, it could be an individual, whatever it might be. And XCMP, right? This is our cross-chain message passing protocol. Right, so this is how we actually interoperate amongst at least the parachains that exist on Polkadot. So we've got this generic messaging format that we can then interoperate on the secure network and pass this message around and request and respond to operations. Right? And further, this cross-consensus messaging can go outside of Polkadot, right? There's reasons you might not want to do this, but I mean, of course, we'd like to interoperate with the world. We're not maximalists about Polkadot, but bridges now can connect us, whether it's Cardano, to Bitcoin, to Ethereum, whatever it might be, using this same messaging format, right? So this is all possible. So we've got this security, we've got these networks that are all connected together, we can make our own custom networks that fit our app chain use case, whatever it might be. We're also trying to make sure that we have a cohesive community that can then decide about how we go and reason about upgrades to this, right? Now we all are collectively reasoning about the security. Well, we better be able to reason about and actually proactively engage in how the evolution of this network comes about, right? So this is effectively a loose analogy, I think, but what I see Polkadot as, and at least it's manifesting into, it's a federation of sovereign parachains all with their own laws of operation. The Polkadot doesn't get to decide for you. You just instruct what is the correct laws of operation that it needs to enforce on your behalf. So we all have this shared security around this. Who knows what this picture is of? Anybody? What was it? The EU chamber? Close, close. It's the UN, right. So this is the United Nations. I see Polkadot in a very loose way. Effectively this higher order, the universal governance, right? That wants to make sure that we're not governing your sovereign nation, and in this case the analogy would be your parachain. We're just here to make sure that everyone interoperates and plays correctly and protects the borders, right? This is around making sure that you do exactly what you'd like and make sure that your network is secure in how you'd like to run it. So this federation I like a lot. Hopefully I've given you some enticement as to Polkadot's a pretty exciting place to be, but not enough time to get into some of the more technical details. As a matter of fact, I would say that we need something on the order of about 5 weeks together. This is my day job. I work on the Polkadot Blockchain Academy. This is specifically a program to train you in not just like a boot camp, we're very explicitly not a boot camp, but very intensely go about fundamental principles and some of the concepts and theory that you need to understand from an academic sense of how consensus systems need to be designed and come together in a robust way. And then some of the practical things around how do you use these toolkits like Rust and like Substrate, like Ink and WASM, all these things, compose them into that now architected consensus machine that you think is great. So if you wanna dive down into this world, come and talk to me. I'd love to get you connected to our next edition. I think it's gonna be in January in Hong Kong. 5 weeks, it'll be fun together. And if I can't get you in Hong Kong, maybe you guys can come and hang out potentially even every week here in the Denver community. So outside of my day job where I go tour around and teach people about Polkadot, I do a lot with our local community. And I think I see a few from Cryptorado around here. Woo, red. Cryptorado is Colorado and crypto, hence the convolution of these two names, Cryptorado. And we're, I would say, another federation, a loose federation of meetups and other events that come and do something on the order of a few times a year, events like Rare Evo. Thank you for coming to our wonderful city. Down to every week, we've got socials, we've got educational events, co-working, hiking, and adventures. In fact, if you'd like to, join me tomorrow, Sunday. We'll go out together. We do a lot of fun stuff. So if you like Web3, come join us. And I think with that, I'll take any questions you got. Got a question?
Question about ecosystem-wide.
Ah, thanks.
Check.
Oh.
All right.
Let's try.
All right.
Maybe? It's all right, I can repeat the question.
All right. We'll have you repeat it then. Let's repeat the question. Question about ecosystem-wide interoperability. So Polkadot's building its own ecosystem of parachains, as you mentioned, but there are other networks kind of building their own. How do you see that as something that would make it easier or difficult to connect all these chains? Cosmos building its own and Ethereum building its own. You know, Cardano talking about all these side chains. Do you think that would make it easier or harder to get this kind of shared interoperability?
Right, so the question is reasoning about, there are very many other platforms, right, that other ecosystems that are evolving around potentially even the same kind of model, right? A coupling of many different app chains and things like this. Is that essentially what your premise is? And then how does Polkadot then differentiate itself or interoperate with these various other networks of networks? Is that effectively your question? So I think in general, the positioning here is that a lot of other people are still talking about, like for example, a fully sharded Ethereum with layer 2 rollups, you know, and all ZK-ified, so they're wonderfully efficient. I think that vision is still being realized, whereas Polkadot is realized today. So you can go and build a parachain and launch as of about a year ago. And I think that we're a first mover advantage in that sense, a little bit, of this multi-chain network, as well as one thing that we won't see across things like Cosmos and across things like a layer 2 sharded Ethereum is this sense of deterministic finality across many different networks. So Polkadot is differentiable in the sense that this root of security really is robust and resound across the entire network, whereas the guarantees that are provided by things like rollups independently operating each other and trying to communicate across Ethereum, right? That's still to be written. I think we have a robust story with this XCMP protocol right now in which we can communicate amongst these chains. So I think what provides some differentiation, at least today, is that we're ahead of the game on terms of that root of security and the ability to interoperate compared to other networks so far.
Awesome.
Sweet. Any other questions?
Quick question, how many parachains can there be?
How many parachains can there be? Right, so I think the general target number here for dedicated parachain slots, and on this plot you can see actually a parachain slot is a shard. You can think of it one-to-one, a shard of the Polkadot network. This is directly related to how many validators we have, and we're incrementally increasing this over time. I believe the target is around 1,000 validators, and in that scenario, with the present technology, on the order of a few hundred parachains is what we're thinking about. But I should say that we also introduced this idea of para-threads. So these are effectively pay-as-you-go parachains that don't have a dedicated slot committed to them. As opposed to that, we see it's effectively an auctioning mechanism. If you're willing to go and get one of these shards that otherwise is unoccupied, you'll compete against other pay-as-you-go chains, so this can expand potentially further. But they're not synchronously able to operate on every Polkadot's block. So on the order of 100 slots, and how many different chains and networks can operate on that, depends. The other thing that we'll see is maybe this idea of a bridge that goes to a different relay network, right? So this is kind of like inception of relay networks. We can have Polkadot, right, which also connects out to, let's see if I got this one, Kusama. This is our sister network. In fact, I'll bring up a different slide if I can, maybe. Yeah, Kusama. Kusama, this is our canary network. I don't know if you guys are familiar with canary networks. Yeah, the idea here is that they're a test network, sort of, kind of, but this has skin in the game dynamics. Kusama is actually not a test net. There's real money involved, but there's maybe a little bit more bleeding edge, as in like cut you and hurt you a little bit, technology that's put on there. A little less audited, whatever it might be. Kusama and Polkadot can be bridged together such that we have an expansion of the overall capacity of the Polkadot model, right? So we can bridge to whatever other various network, including other relay chains, to expand horizontally. Hopefully that answers your question.
So could there be 2 Polkadots?
Yeah, so I'd say that Kusama is very much like a Polkadot, except it is this bleeding edge canary net, right? An additional Polkadot that was operated on the same level by the same governance. I think that Kusama may evolve into this. Or yes, of course, we could have a duplicate engine with a different validator set that interoperate via a bridge. Mm-hmm. Right. Sounds good. Cool. Well, if you guys have more questions, whatever it might be, please do come find me. And again, if you're ever in Denver, or if you're ever in Colorado, we're all about doing fun things together in the Web3 world, whatever it might be. Cool. Thank you.
Claim your official proof of participation in Rare Evo 2023. Whether you attend physically or tune in on the live stream, you get a free NFT painted by Brendan O'Connell live from our Expo Hall floor, and you get whitelisted for the Rare Perks NFT presale. By claiming, you will be entered into a giveaway of multiple rewards, including the original one-of-one physical painting by Brendan, along with exclusive access and opportunities for Rare Evo 2024, including, but not limited to, free general admission and VIP passes, a 10x10 booth, workshop space, and more.